Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Unstructured, where we bring you inspirational spotlights to keep you radical, empowered, authentic, and living in the Word. I am your host, Narissa, and this is a platform specifically designed for millennials to showcase their God-given gifts and talents with the world, who have used unstructured, unconventional, and unapologetic means to pursue their dreams. Now, today's guest is none other than Dr. Kristin Scott. Thank you, Kristin, for joining.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, look, I know most of the viewers may not know who you are, so please tell them a little bit about yourself and your schooling.
Sure. I'm originally from the area, Dallas, Texas. I grew up in Garland, Texas, and it was first instilled in me to, go to college as the expectation by my mom and my sisters. Both my mom and my oldest sisters went to Ivy League schools, and my middle sister went to an HBCU, FAMU. And when I went to go visit her one weekend, I didn't know how to act. I just knew I needed to be at an HBCU. So I went to Howard University for my undergraduate work.
Hey, HU?
You know. And then I knew once I, majored in psychology, and I knew that was the career route that I was going to go, and knew that I was going to need to get a graduate level degree. And so did a lot of research and found Tulane University. I mean, it was just a bonus that it was in New Orleans, but I mean, that institution really fit with a lot of my interests and had great mentors there. And so I completed my master's and my PhD in psychology with a specialization in school psychology.
Wow. So school psychology, do you have a particular age range that you work with?
Yeah, so my training background is in school age children. So that's as young as 3 on the way up to 17, 18.
Okay. Gotcha. So tell the viewers, how in the world did you get into this industry? How did it even become a passion of yours?
Yeah, so I would say some of it just, I think, happened because of just some inherent characteristics of mine. Like when I think about what role I was in my friend group, I was the person who was offering advice or giving some support and encouragement. And so some of those things just kind of came natural to me and things that I love doing. And, I took a course in high school and was interested in it, but I thought at the time I actually wanted to go to law school, but that was just because a lot of my family told me I'd be good in it because I love to argue and debate. So, but after the first semester, I was like, I don't know if that's for me. And so I switched my major to psychology because I just loved the course, loved that instructor. And then it just evolved from there. And I mean, every stage of the way has just been another, opportunity for recognize how important mental health is and how much I advocate for making sure that minorities in particular recognize the importance of mental health. And so, yeah, it's just been an ongoing and evolving passion of mine.
Wow. So that is a great segue, Kristin, to the next question. You were talking about how mental health, particularly with minorities, is so important. So for African Americans, why would you say that, mental health is so crucial for us to make sure that we understand and we know about it?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a great question. What a lot of us already know from statistics is that African Americans are unfortunately at disproportionately higher risk at, things like cardiovascular disease or obesity, and the other things too. When we think about, economic and social disparities as well, something that I think oftentimes gets left out of the pictures is recognizing how intertwined or interconnected mental health is with one's physical health. When we think about what it means to be Black in America, that's oftentimes dealing with prejudice, discrimination, constant racial microaggressions in our workplace. And so all of those things, research tells us, directly impact one's physical health. So they oftentimes find that when someone's in environments where they feel really targeted or discriminated against, that they're more likely to have increased rates of blood pressure and be more at risk too for depression and anxiety. And so it's just so important that, you know, African Americans in particular recognize how much mental health plays into a lot of those outcomes that I was talking about.
Absolutely. Those are great points. And especially for our, you know, for our generation, it's important for us to know because, you know, mental health gets really a bad rap with us, especially with millennials, right? We get bad raps about, no, don't go to a counselor, don't go to a therapist, you don't need anything. But what would you recommend for someone who is struggling with mental health and that bad stigma that comes with it? What would you recommend for someone?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the opposite of all those things you're saying, like, you know, getting in touch with a therapist. I think that, like you said, something that is, you know, specific to minority communities and so African American communities included is that there is that stigma with getting, you know, mental health services. And that's something that I really try to advocate for with our families in terms of thinking about like what are going to be some creative ways that we can really try to make someone get hooked in with services. And that's why, you know, my initial love with psychologies was introduced by school psychology because that was such a, you know, great way to get families connected into services. I mean, kids are at school all day long and, you know, it doesn't feel, you know, uncommon to get support through schools. And so that's such a great way to kind of break down some barriers that sometimes get in the way of families, you know, accessing mental health services. And so, I mean, yeah, the best advice I can say is, you know, trying to sometimes utilize some of those stakeholders, like whether that's in school or if there's, you know, spiritual leaders that are, you know, in the church that are going to also advocate for the importance of that. I think trying to meet people where they are is huge. And so if you can get buy-in from people that they already have a sense of trust and sense of respect for, who recognize the value in, you know, getting mental health support, then I think that that's a great start.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. And we need more of that today. We need more of, especially our church leaders advocating for that. You know, yes, we can pray. Yes, we can read our Bible, but sometimes we need a little bit more than that. And we need somebody to coach us through the process for us to be able to get better. So thank you for that. Now, what advice would you give to someone who is interested in getting into this field of psychology? What advice would you give to someone?
Talk to me or someone, just someone already in the field. That's, I mean, I have mentors that I could talk about that would start to bring tears to my eyes who have been so instrumental in my journey and my growth, and all of us, I think, would attest to the importance of being able to be that to someone else and like knowing the importance of that. So I would just say reach out to somebody in the field who can, you know, be that for you and answer those questions. And, you know, there's just so many things I didn't know. Like, I didn't even know like tuition waiver in grad school was a thing. And I probably would have like not gone if I thought, you know, that it was going to leave me in crazy amounts of student loan debt. And, but my mentors like told me like, no, like there are certain institutions that will admit people, you know, with the tuition waiver. And so, yeah, so it's just like, I think little things like that, you know, again, although we talked about negative risk associated with our community, you know, the flip side of that though is that we are a community and we are connected and we look out for ours. And, you know, so I just always say like get hooked in with a mentor who can really help you, you know, on that journey if this is a field that you're interested in being in.
That's really good, especially the connection. Look, I wish, Kristin, I wish that I had somebody to tell me about some waivers because I am in some stupid, crazy, stupid student loan debt. So I wish maybe I should have went that route.
I mean, I still got a little bit, but.
So what is coming up for Dr. Scott? Like, do you have anything that we should look forward to? Do you plan on doing your own practice? Like, what's upcoming for Dr. Scott?
I get asked this all the time by families. I know, I guess I didn't say that. So where I work right now, I'm in a hospital. So I work at Children's and the inpatient, child and adolescent psychiatry unit. And so, so that's primarily where all my clinical work is, in the hospital setting. And I have thought about maybe branching out one day. I don't think it's any day soon. I mean, I'm still very much in my early career phase. So the position that I'm in, I'll have been there 2 years next month. So it's still a bit early, but yeah, I mean, things that are happening for me, gosh, what things are happening career-wise? I mean, some of it's really just what I'm doing now is just kind of trying to branch on and get just more connected into different areas. So I'm trying to gotten hooked in with like a special interest group where, it specializes in understanding, outcomes for kids who are in these settings, like in acute care settings, and, what are ways to continue to deliver better and better care. Yeah, I mean, and then I think the other piece of things that we touched upon too is just also looking for ways too that I can be a mentor to anyone who is interested in this field. And then just, of course, always looking for ways to further advocate the importance of mental health, especially, doing so, having that conversation with our community.
Absolutely. So that's another great segue, Kristin, to our final question about if someone wanted to reach out to you to get more information, to learn more, or to simply seek help and get kind of the direction and guidance they need, how can people contact you?
I would say the best way to reach me is my personal email address. It's k.monet, M-O-N-E-T, .scott@gmail.com. And so that's one of the ways I can definitely reach out to people quicker. And then I'm always more than happy to provide my phone number, because I think sometimes a phone conversation might be a bit more rich than, whatever we might communicate via email. But yes, please feel free to reach out to me via email though.
Will do. Well, thank you, Dr. Scott, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. I learned a lot just by that, and I really appreciate you joining in and taking the time to share your story and what you're doing with the work that you have at Children's Hospital and psychology. So thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you again for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And now it is time for our Rebel Faith moment. Dr. Kristin Scott is a psychologist. She got her PhD in psychology, which is the study of the mind and behavior. To study the mind and behavior of individuals, she also talked about how it became her passion because she also knew the importance of what it means, particularly for minorities, to understand mental health and how mental health is connected in so many different ways to also your overall health, your body, and how you interact on a day-to-day basis. All of that is interconnected. And when I think about our Rebel Faith moment for today, which comes from Hebrews 11:1, it says, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." We can't always see our hope around the corner. We can't always see and know exactly what is coming up around the bend. But we have to have that confidence. We have to have that assurance. Even though I can't see it, I know that God is with me. I know that there is something around the corner. I know that there is hope that is there for me. When I think about how Kristin was saying when she is interacting with individuals, and maybe it's school children, or maybe it's in the hospital, at Children's Hospital where she works, she has to be able to not only help them and guide them and be able to give them the appropriate medicine and material that they need, but she is also able to provide a support system for them. And sometimes in our walk of faith, because we can't see around the bend, because we don't know what's coming up, we need support as well. Yes, we need to pray. Yes, we need to read our word. Yes, we need to spend time with the Lord. Yes, we need to just kind of shut away sometimes and just be by ourselves with the Lord. But sometimes we also need just some support, someone else there to tell us it's going to be all right, to tell us we will make it, to tell us you will get through this, to tell us this is not the end, but there is more to come on the horizon, that there is greater after this. I not too long ago, before the pandemic hit, I was out with some children as well, and we were at a playground and we were doing an obstacle course. And in this obstacle course, a little boy was harnessed really tight or with ropes and everything, and he was going through the obstacle course, and he had to climb these big beams. And then at the end, he was harnessed because you had to zip line across a long line to get to the other side and then run to the finish line. And he said, absolutely not. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't move forward, because he did not trust the harness, but he had to keep moving. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to finish the race. And so we had to affirm the strength of the harness that was on him, that it would be okay, that he would make it through, and to watch the other kids that were going, and that he would be all right. But not only did we affirm the strength of the harness, but we encouraged him and cheered him on as he continued to go up the wall, as he continued to finally take the strength to grab those that pole that he needed, and then get on the zip line to go across and then run to the finish line. When we face our problems, when we face our fears that seem impossible to conquer, fears and insecurities can cause doubts. But the assurance of God's unchanging might, his goodness and faithfulness, creates a strong harness of trust. And so this confident assurance is fueled with courage that we need to have. We need to demonstrate that faith that trumps our need to know every detail of God's plan. With conviction, we need to seek God earnestly, often standing alone sometimes, but then with the support of other people to encourage us to keep going a little while longer. So whether you're by yourself right now and still trying to figure out what it is that you need to do because you can't see around that bend, or if you got a cheering section that is cheering you on, telling you to keep going, that you can make it, that you can keep going through this, whichever way that you're facing right now, know that you can make it, that you can get through it. But faith is the confidence in which we hope for, the evidence of things not seen. Take that to heart this week. Whatever it is that you're facing, take that to heart, that you may not be able to see it, but trust in God. Trust in God, and he will get you through. God bless you.